Hello, welcome to step 12. Let's dive right in, shall we? So again, I've already got all the parts cut up and ready to go, cleaned up and ready to go. Cut off the trees. I'm so excited to be working on this. I'm already saying the wrong thing. So when putting A12 and A13 together, you want them to kind of go diagonal against each other so that you end up with a rectangle, not some sort of weird rhombus shape. I think some people would have enjoyed having some sort of a weird rhombus shape. But anyways, and then with the 3-barred piece on top, which is number 813, you want to add these little straps right on here from J14, and you can put them where it seems like wherever you want, but it looks more like they need to go onto the side rather than more towards the middle. So I am doing that just like that. I don't see a problem with it, and I can even use it to hide a problem part where that little sprue attachment point was. Just make sure to keep it even between the two of them side to side, so it looks like they belong there at least together, like that, top to bottom. And then I am just going to move this one over a little bit to kind of even it out. Maybe a little more. Let me see. Yeah, I think that looks good. Like that. So now that that's done, photo etch bending down here. Now, what's a little odd is that the piece right here goes like this. It seems to show in the side view that there's like bolt heads or something. There's nothing here like that, but you put it like this with this end up and fold into the grooves. And I'm going to use my bending tool so you guys can see it. I'm going to use the flat end of this, bring it up 90 degrees. There we go. I adjusted that off the screen. Sorry about that. And 90 degrees. And voila, which is French for "and then I found out." Go ahead, place that quote. I'll laugh. So anyways, this goes in, these two notches go in there, and it gets attached on top of this plastic right here. So just put some glue on the top like that. Put this in like so. Just wait for it to get a little tacky. And at the same time, now I need to put in the handle of F12, and instead of using model cement for this, I'm going to use my black super glue. Just because it's a smaller part and it looks a little harder to put together. So as you can see, there's the black glue around the edges, and using my Uncure, like I showed you last time, and I've used Q-tips, I've used old brushes, I've used a number of things for the Uncure. I haven't found that it's too difficult to like, say if I use a brush like I'm doing here, I put the Uncure on it. If I use this brush, I can still use it with paint as long as I clean it up. But what this is doing is kind of getting the worst from around it. Sometimes it gets a little gummed up. I find I have better overall results with Q-tips or cotton swabs, I guess. But that'll clean it up really nice using the debonder. And like I said, then I just have to go and clean it up, clean the brush up using just a regular brush cleaner, and it doesn't seem to have any harm or effect on the brush if I ever need to do any spot painting. I'm not going to do any detail painting with that, obviously, because I want to have all of my detail paint brushes kept away from my workbench when I'm doing this kind of stuff. But the point is if I accidentally grab that paintbrush and I used it to do some smaller painting or whatever, I haven't noticed that there's a problem with the brush not being usable or having some sort of issue. So now I've got 2 of K11 and 2 of K12. I'm going to glue them both together to make my air canisters. And this has a little bit of flash around the holes. Just going to clean that out. Didn't notice that when I was setting this up and cleaning this up in preparation for this video. But there we are. And the way that the pegs are aligned, you can't put this on the wrong way. That's the nice thing. Now, I suppose you could put it on the wrong way, but it would take some serious talent to do that. More talent than I have to anger the model gods. So that's one. Now, some people have said, well, why don't you use the part that has the locating holes and put the glue on so that it gets in the locating holes first? And see, I didn't clean that off, and now I'm paying for it. So apparently both of these have this issue of this material around this hole, so it must be part of the die slippage or whatever. Anyways, my answer to people who say, well, hey, why don't you just do the side that has the holes all the time and call it good, you know? Get a little extra glue in there. And what I would say is, with things like this, I haven't really noticed that they glue together any differently if I put the glue on one half or the other, because it's usually not enough glue per se. So with those made, they get, okay, there's the step I hadn't done. So now I can put a whole smudge of glue on the bottom of this and glue it to the other side of that big photo etch piece, number PEMC1. Like so. Sorry, this is off screen. I'm trying to square it up. Doesn't have to be perfect. You'll notice that the handle is glued on, but there it is. And then these go on the bottom. So you're using these pegs here, not the straps on the bottom. Now all the little detail and the handle on that is forward here, and you'll notice that the smaller end with the straps goes forward, so the larger part of the canister is pointed off towards, we're going to call it the back. So I'll just put some glue and put that on there. And again, glue canisters. And that's good. So now that those are built, I'm going to work on this right here. This is one of the toolboxes. First thing I do is glue on this. And you'll notice on here, notches down, hinges down, like so. Now, little F38, which is a really cool lock and padlock. I thought that was one of the cooler things that I've seen. Right here, itty bitty little protrusion with the padlock on it. I'm going to stick that right where it says, and I think that is an awesome little detail. And finally, on the side, using the tab that's on the side of this, and I'm not even sure what it is, if it's a filter or I'm not sure. It reminds me kind of like an oil filter or some sort of maybe hydraulic filter, but you know, it's just a canister on the side of the box. Moving on to the fifth wheel setup. This is a little complicated. So D38 is here. This is D12. I can't figure out a difference. There's no difference in the peg size or in anything else, so put that on there. D39 right on here. Now I have not glued this at this point, even though this is tight and this is not. Take the fifth wheel, it's upside down, and these are going on sideways. And the easiest way is this one. D39 has a notch, D38 does not. Here's the hole for, or the slot for D38. Here's the two slots for D39. So it makes it pretty much, call it idiot proof if you want. Now, looking at it from underneath, I also see I missed some of the, again, some of the, in this case, flash, which seems kind of surprising in a kit this new, but it's there and it's got to be dealt with, or else you're going to have poor fitting parts or some sort of issue later on. So anyways, I've cleaned off the flash that I found. I'm going to reapply a little bit more glue in these areas. And glue that in, leaving this tight but unglued. And I don't know if that's going to mean anything later on. And in fact, because of that, just how tight that is, I'm going to glue those. I'm going to glue those together because I don't want half of this to fall off or something along those lines. So that is now glued in. And on this, on J22, it's a keyed hole right in here with the key in the back, so that you can only glue this on one particular way, the right way, at least according to the instructions. So, and it asks you to make 2 of them, so just glue it, rotate it till it fits. There it is. Same thing with this one. Now, as of right now, you can see I have the molding seam still on there. Just clean those off a little bit. I admit I don't know how visible these are going to be once the kit is completely put together, but it is on the back. It is the part of the 5th wheel, so I want it to look a little bit nicer than just that, but be careful not to take this little detail off there. So anyhow, I've now built these 2. Now it's telling us with this like this that these pins need to go in. Now the question is, how do we put the pins in? You know, there's nowhere to put a pin. Same on this side. So how do these pins go on? Because I'm looking up here and it shows actually that it looks like they just get butt glued right there. Or at least this one does. So first off, I'm going to take part G3, which I know goes on in this particular fashion, right there and into that little hole, and see where that ends up to give me some idea of the location of the other part, which it may do. Well, it's always possible it won't, but and as you can see, there is a little bit of difficulty getting this in. And this goes to the side. Ah, all right. Good lesson. So my forceps slipped and kind of bent in there. Now it broke this. So that's not cool. Part of the problem was trying to twist this. So this is where, thankfully, that part has a support on here, and I can attach it to the shaft. Like this, so. And I adjust as necessary. And I want it to look, yeah, like that. So, we can see that that's there, and we still have this piece. And from what I can see on the drawings, it sure looks like what it does is it attaches right here. Just butt on the side. That makes me a little nervous. So in this case, even though it's plastic, I'm going to actually use my black super glue, my rubber super glue here, to glue that on. This stuff has a little bit of give to it, and that's something that I think I'm going to like for this. And as a secondary thing, I'm also going to put it kind of close to that pivot rectangle, just so it has a little bit more positive connection. So that's how this ends up looking. It looks fragile. And I'll put that there. I've got these parts there done. The last parts to do are over in this corner. Again, K10 and K9. This time I'm going to look over the K9s first. And they also have some flash around these locating holes here, but that looks like that's it. So now that that's done, add my glue. And these, as far as I can tell, need to go in one direction and not the other. And you have to use the straps to line them up, because otherwise you can't really tell. It's not the easiest, I don't want to say design, but it's not the easiest thing to figure out without gluing them on. And even then the straps are a little off, may take a little bit of filing to get those to work right. So again, glue. And then check with, there, that looks right the first time. Looks good on this side too. Just glued and clamped with, with my fingers to try and keep that all together. There's that. And there's that. Okay, so those are together. Now, from what I can see on the instructions, we have one more piece to fold over, and that is this. And this is actually not an L shape. This is actually a curved shape twice. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to do the larger outside, I'm going to call it the outside piece first. Fold it up 90 degrees, just like I want. And now that I've got that done, I can address these smaller ones. And the nice thing is with this, no, I guess I can't. I was almost sure that I could go on the end and do it. So I'm going to do it here. So I'm just going to attach it and put it with, actually I'm going to do it with the long one first. And the idea behind that is that then when I go to do the other fold, neither one of them gets in the way of the other. So this is a small fold, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the full 90 degrees the way that that's set up, but I got the fold started in there like so. You can see it's more of a 7 shape. And then I'm gonna, in this case, I'm gonna take my tweezers and finish it up like so. Now, I can do this with my tweezers as well on this side because they're just square enough, but I want to do the fold on here to show you what I'm talking about. So now got that folded in. And you can see on this side that it's not gonna hit anything when I fold this over. Now it's just a matter of folding this over. Like so. Open it up. Adjust as needed. And you can see that there's a bit of an over angle on it. So then you just adjust it with your forceps, and it should be fairly pliable. So then you get kind of a look to it, and it's going on here. So let's start putting our parts on. So it goes on in this direction, and moving this aside right there. It gets attached to this angled piece right here and that. So essentially, like so. There we go. So it's not going to ride all the way up to the top. It kind of rests right underneath there from what I can see of it at this point. And we have to be careful not to snap the holders for the tanks. So I'm just kind of holding this here while I'm taking a look. So far, I'm going to say that's what I want. Again, going back to my rubber super glue. And since I know I'm going to be gluing this side to the plate, not as easy as it always looks. But it is on. It is glued on. I believe that's correct. If I find out differently, you know where to look for it. Right on here. Next, this gets put into those 3 notches right there. So we want to check and make sure that everything is basically level. Take our glue. Like so, and then attach them in here. They're going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze, which we want to help hold everything in there, and this will square everything up too. It's just nice overall. Give it a good look. Make sure that all your supports are the way that you want them. That's in place. Next, I want to put on this right here, this assembly. It has a peg on the back side right there. I'm going to pick this up right here. There's the notch for it. I'm going to put on plenty of glue, holding it by the photo etched portion. I'm going to slide that on and then square it up to the other pieces so that it looks good and not too weird or too angled. I think that looks pretty good right there. And then I will keep an eye on it to make sure it stays square. For right now, I'm just going to keep holding it. Actually, I should put this down. Now, I'm going to skip over and take part G22 while I'm looking at this. And this part right here goes right there, right up here. So I'm just going to glue that in place. Get this over with, so to speak. And I'm going to use my forceps to help push it in. Now, it appears that it doesn't want to sit straight in like it should. So I'm working on it. And there's that. So we've got this essentially upside down. We also need to put in some of our other parts. So we have these two parts, J8, they go into these two notches in the frame. I'm going to glue them in. And get those, I'm going to say started is the word. Now, these get the smaller of the two, but I just changed my mind. What I want to do is I want to glue these on here first and then glue that assembly on there, just because it makes it more solid. Having these parts on first, so I'm not moving things around. Now, it doesn't seem, from anything that I'm seeing right here, like it matters which direction these go on here, as long as they both go in the same direction. Meaning both of these little knobs, pips, locating keys, whatever you want to call them, that they're in the same direction. If they're not on the both on the same side, so then I can just put it in like that. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Now this one right here goes right there, so that's simple enough. Add some glue. And again, as far as I can tell, there's no front or back on these particular cylinders. It's just on or off. And might take a little persuasion, looks like, for this. A little pressure gets that side on, that side's already on. So there's that. Okay, while I'm waiting for those parts J8 to kind of dry on there a little bit more, I want to put the fifth wheel on. So the fifth wheel, this gets located with the notch on each side here and there. So I want to put these frame parts on first, and this is starting to get a little fiddly. I mean, if you feel fat-fingered and like you're going to destroy everything, you're not alone. I feel like every time I touch this, I'm going to do something to break it. And yes, when you look at it, one peg should be pointing back and one peg on the opposite side here should be pointing forward, as per the instructions. And I'm not sure if that's completely accurate. That's not a place that a lot of walk around photos are taken, but at this point in time I have no reason to believe that it's wrong. At least nobody's made any comments about it anywhere that I've looked. And the glue is in. Now, here's the thing. I've glued them on, even though they go in between, so that I can move this one to the side push this into the holes, and done. Oh, there we go. Again, difficult, but there. Now it's in. I did not glue the fifth wheel in on this. I want this to be wobbly at this point, because why not? And finally, we're going to glue, being very careful, we're going to glue the last air canister onto the bottom of the vehicle. Again, I don't know of any front or back. I just know that the notches should push, the notches should be towards the interior, or the keys, the proud parts. And it looks like part of the problem that I'm having is that there's flash in there. I have to admit, I didn't expect there to be flash in these little tiny parts that would keep them from sitting positively, but there are. So cleaning this up real quick like, and this just kind of shows that even if you come across a problem while you're doing a build and it's not exactly perfect by any stretch of your definition or my imagination, you can still work with it. A little bit of glue on here again, a little bit of glue on here. Now it should sit right. Again, the little notches go on the inside so that the tank sticks closer to the mount and to the underside of the vehicle. Basically, this air tank is right over the frame. Rather than a little bit jury-rigged under it. Now, every time. Now this is a case where if I was a little more patient, I could have let those arms dry, and then I could have glued this on. Now it's not the end of the world, and it's not bad, but even that little bit of pushing. So this is not the world's strongest design, but it works. So I am now going to place this here. Again, this is where we're at. Step 12 is complete, and I will see you for step 13.